Welcome in another special edition interview podcast here on Maize and Blue Review. I am joined by, I don't know if I've ever seen someone become a fan favorite so quickly.
Yeah.
Tight end for Michigan football, obviously a national champion, all Big Ten selection, Mr. AJ Barner. Sir, how are you doing?
Doing good. Good to be here. Appreciate you having me on.
Like I said, national champion, obviously in the process of going to the NFL draft. Has the last 3 months hit you yet, or is it still kind of all a blur?
Yeah, I would still say kind of just a blur just because like everything happens so quickly. Like you win the national championship and then it's like now you got to start training for the combine and senior bowl and all that stuff. So you really didn't even have enough time to enjoy it. But definitely look back on it and just it was just a great experience the whole season.
You obviously transferred to Michigan from
Mhm.
Indiana. We'll get into that in a moment because there's some interesting stuff there I want to talk about. But I was really surprised by just even your path to football going back to high school. So you're what 6'6", 260 right now, something like that.
6'6", yeah, 250.
So as a freshman in high school, you decide, okay, I'm going to commit to football and quit the other sports. You're a quarterback at the
Yeah.
time, and how big
Yeah.
were you then?
Like I wrestled too my freshman year. I wrestled pretty much my whole life until freshman year, and when I wrestled in the winter, I was at 126 pounds.
Okay. So what why did you know so early that football was the sport and you wanted
Yeah,
to chase this dream of college and NFL?
I would say like I didn't really know. Like it was just football was always my passion. Like ever since I've grown up, like I always had a football in my hand. My parents, like I used to every year for Halloween be a football player, and like it was back in the day, like you could get the helmet for each team and like a jersey and put whatever number on it, and I would always do that. And like I kind of had the mindset that like whether I was going to be playing Division 3 ball at like an OAC school like John Carroll or Mount Union or one of those, like I was just gonna play football, and that's why I really started to commit myself to it. Like, obviously, wanted to play Division 1 football, um, but for me, like nobody where I'm from has ever played in the NFL. So, like, if you were to say that, you might, maybe get laughed at, just because like it just seems like such a far away thought.
So if it wasn't obvious already that you're from Ohio, you dropped the John Carroll and the Mount Union in there.
Yeah,
So like I said,
yeah,
you're from Aurora.
yeah.
Um, did you have a dog in the fight, Ohio State, Michigan? Did you follow the rivalry growing
For
up?
sure. One of my cousins actually played for Ohio State in like 2008 or 2009, 2010, that range. And I mean, Ohio State never really batted an eye at me. Like, I never got offered by them coming out of high school or in the transfer portal. So I kind of was like, I mean, like, it wasn't like a end all be all, but I was like, you know what? If they don't want to show me any love, like, it's whether I'm at Indiana or Michigan, like, that's going to be a big game for me that I always wanted to show out in.
It's amazing how many Michigan players Ohio State has gifted us with a little chip on their
For
shoulders.
sure. For
You
sure.
you obviously chose Indiana coming out of high
Yeah.
school. They were either the only one or one of two that offered you as a tight end, right?
Well, so I had like a lot of MAC offers after my junior year. Probably like 8 of the MAC schools had offered me, but Indiana offered me as a tight end. Michigan State actually offered me as a linebacker, and then Pitt offered me as a tight end. So yeah, I would say
Pitt
there's
was
a
coming in.
handful
Okay.
of schools that like had offered me as a tight end, and then some schools offered me as a linebacker or a D end.
So what you were obviously successful on both sides in high school, but
Yeah,
what made you choose the tight end path
yeah.
over the defensive path?
Honestly, looking back, like I kind of forget like what really like put me there, but I think it was kind of just like, you don't really see 6'6", middle linebackers, and I felt like I've always kind of been a kid that was like, you know, uh, pretty lean, so I never really thought that I could really get up to like a 280 or be like a big edge defender. And then being that Indiana had talked to me from the start, from when like most of the MAC schools, Indiana had been talking to me since then, and that they wanted me to play tight end. So I felt comfortable with the relationship that I had with the coaches and believed in, what they thought I could do there.
And things obviously go well in Indiana and you have a good relationship there. You're not one of those players that has any grudges or burned bridges, right? You're
Nah,
a former team captain at
right.
Indiana, 3 good years there. Talk me a little bit through that decision to
Yeah.
enter the portal and then obviously ultimately choosing Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, probably the toughest decision I've ever had to make. I was kind of in the mindset where it's like I wanted to go to Indiana and be the best tight end to ever play there. And then when that didn't happen, that was unfortunate. And not to knock Indiana, but like Indiana football and Michigan football, it's a little different. Like you got 110,000 people in the big house every weekend, and at Indiana, like you're not really getting that same support. So it wasn't really about that, but as a program, it can be hard to generate a lot of success when you don't have as many resources. And then just Michigan, when that opportunity presented itself, I had known Coach Hart from Indiana, and it was kind of a deal like, hey, we lost in the college football playoff last year. Our goal is to win the national championship, and anything short of that would be pretty much a failure. And I was just kind of in the mindset where I wanted to go somewhere that would challenge me every day, and that I would go somewhere to just to win games.
You also stepped into kind of an interesting situation because again, you're joining a team that is full of players that have been together for a very long time. Again, former captain in Indiana,
Yeah,
and then you're not walking into like the number one tight end role. Obviously, Colston Loveland's getting a lot of
yeah,
attention and such.
for sure,
You obviously carved out a huge role. We'll get to that, but
for sure.
why? You said you wanted to be the best tight end in Indiana. I know
Yeah.
winning games, Michigan, but what was that transition like?
Mhm.
Joining such an established team and going from leader of one and trying to
For
find a
sure.
piece as a leader in the new room.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely a little different, but my kind of mindset was like, if they're gonna ask Colston to have a lot of the receiving stuff, that sure I would have loved to do as well, or like ask Brady to do the fullback role. I'm gonna be the best blocking tight end that I can be, and when they do get me the ball, I'm gonna make plays with that as well. So my mindset was wherever I do get an opportunity, I'm going to be the best version of myself at that, and that's just kind of the standard that I hold myself to. And then as well as I would just say that they recognized that they had a hole in that, that kind of Scooney left, that, being that inline blocking tight end, and with Blake and Dono and all the great running backs we had, like we knew we were going to run the ball. And I feel like the team recognized I could come in and really help them. So it was definitely had some challenges, but it was a smooth transition.
You say you want to be the best blocking tight end you can be.
Yeah.
You literally were the number one rated blocking tight end in all of college football,
Yeah.
according to Pro Football Focus last year. Number two was Bredesen. So
Yeah,
you guys were just instrumental for the run game this
for
year.
sure.
Talk to me about that mentality of because
Yeah.
obviously tight end does both, but you want to catch the ball. Like
Right.
getting into the run game and being that blocker, what goes into that? I don't want to
Yeah,
say sacrifice, but
for
willingness to
sure.
contribute and give up the individual accolade.
For sure. I would say two things. One, the coaching that I was, around Coach Newsom, Coach Moore, and the technique that they taught me, whether it was my first step, my hand placement, and all the little intricate details that go into blocking. And then two, the mentality. Like anybody can be a good blocker. Like it really, yes, you need skill. Yes, you need strength, but if you are willing to block and willing to have a mentality that I'm going to displace the man in front of me, then like there's no reason why you can't be a good blocker. So I think the combination of those two things is something that I really pride myself in, and I know that Max does the same thing. And you mentioned that I was the best, at doing that, and I wholeheartedly believe that I was. And if it was, in the past game opportunities too, I believe that I could be one of the best in that as well if I was, given a little bit more of an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you and a lot of the Michigan offensive players in this draft, JJ, we see it every day, is dealing with this narrative
Yeah,
about your output versus
for sure.
opportunity. We know you can catch the ball when given the opportunity. Michigan State,
Yeah,
man, 8 catches,
right,
99 yards, a touchdown. You got robbed of one, too.
right.
Tell me about that game because I know leading into it, there was kind of a thought that you guys, the tight ends, could target the linebackers, but then afterwards, it sounded like that wasn't really the game plan. But you and Colston just exploded in that
For
game.
sure. I think it was just like the ball was kind of finding us. And unfortunately, like we didn't really, I personally didn't really have another game like that when those opportunities presented itself. But I think that game, it was like, whenever the ball does come our way, like, we're gonna make a play with it. And it just so happened to be that JJ was finding us, and maybe we had the mismatch, or maybe it was just, the timing of the play calls. But, whatever it was, it was definitely a good game for both of us.
I do want to talk about last Michigan game moment.
Uh-huh.
I spoke with Trevor Keegan on the last pod, and he had a big part of it, and you did as well. The Zach Zinner injury against
Yeah.
Ohio State. So obviously, the play where Zach is injured is a pass to you. You get a huge gain.
Yeah.
The camera catches you kind of when you realize what had happened after the catch
Yeah.
coming back, and then on the next play on Corum's touchdown, you absolutely lock up JTT on a block, and then you
Yeah.
kind of see Corum's gone, and you run after him, and you're the second man after Keegan in the end zone to celebrate with Corum.
Yeah.
Can you just talk me through that
Mhm.
entire sequence?
For
And
sure.
yeah,
Um, you mentioned me being from Ohio, so like obviously that, played so much into that game. That play, I make a catch, run for, after the catch, get a nice gain, we're all excited, and then I turn around and I see one of our guys on the ground, and like, I see his leg and I see that it's, doesn't look good at all. So that's kind of my reaction when I drop to the ground, like, this is not good, because you just know right away, like you see something like that and you obviously know, like, yeah, this is a serious deal. Then like obviously a little bit went by and we saw that at 65 it was Zinner, and just knowing Zinner and like, how much he meant to our team, it was definitely tough because, that game means so much, and just that point in the season, it's like that's a key piece of our team going down. And then the play after it, it's kind of just like, you call a run play, but when you call a run, you'd love it to go for a touchdown every time, but that's not normally the case. Um, and yeah, Blake just found the hole. It happened to be behind me. And then we always talk about, whenever you're in the end zone, you celebrate with your teammates. And that's what Blake did, celebrated for his teammate, and then we were just around him to celebrate that moment. But it was definitely a crazy deal, and an unfortunate one, but also one that you look back on, and it's just like a crazy moment.
yeah, you almost hate, like, it's gonna be just such a memorable moment in that
Yeah,
rivalry forever, and you almost hate it because of the injury to Zach. But what you
right.
guys did afterwards, just yeah, it's an incredible thing. I think Keegan called it the football gods, right? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, that duality.
It's a good way to
So
put it.
yeah. So look, moving forward, heading to the NFL draft, we've talked about your success as a blocker.
Yeah.
And yes, this low passing output argument, right? I looked into it. 22 receptions this year,
Mm,
15 of your catches went for first downs.
yeah,
And you say you're an in-line blocking tight end, but you lined up in the slot, you lined up outside. So
for sure.
when you're having these conversations with, NFL teams, executives, whatever, what kind of tight end do you want to be in the NFL? Do you think you can be in the NFL? What's your pitch? Or what are they asking of you, I guess, either way?
For sure. I would just say a complete tight end and somebody that at the end of the day just wants to win games. Like the same thing that I did at Michigan, whether it's that same blocking role or whether it's catching 8 passes a game, whatever I got to do to win or be on special teams, like that's what I want to do. Like individual success follows team success. And when you're losing games, and I mean, typically nobody's having success. The other thing is, like you said, that pass catching narrative. Like I just want to break that and prove that like I am a really good threat in the pass game, and I've flown under the radar my whole career. I still to this day, there's a lot of tight ends that people rate in front of me. I was never ever mentioned on any type of like like of those lists on social media, and I really don't pay much attention to them anyway. Like even if I do get love on them, like I'm probably not gonna you know put that much stock into it because I know, as soon as you mess up, like, those are probably the same people that are hating on you. So I just kind of want to show that, like, I'm tired of flying under the radar, and I want people to see the real AJ Barner and the real complete tight end that he is.
I love it, man. And look, I said it at the top, and I mean it. You became a fan favorite almost instantly in Ann
Uh,
Arbor. I'm sure your mentality and, like you said, just going all in on the blocking was a big piece of it. But
yes, sir.
look, congratulations, man! National champion, incredible. Wish we would have had you for more than 1 year,
For sure.
being honest.
I wish it could have been more than one too.
But best of luck in the NFL draft, and then obviously keep in touch with us moving forward. And again, just congratulations on all your accomplishments, man.
Will do. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, I'm super grateful to have been a part of the Maize and Blue, and I'm definitely a Michigan man for life.
All right, AJ Barner, thanks for joining, bud.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.